Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court Martial Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty. And welcome, one and all, friends and family, relatives and related, and even those people you've never even heard of before, just like us. Welcome to the Court Martial Podcast, the one and only place for wrestling talk, made by smarks, for smarks, and for everyone in between. Old men, old women, young women, children, and dogs, cats, ferrets, sheep, anything that feels like they want to hear the wonderful, dulceted, bleeding tones of two men who think they know what they're talking about. You have come to the right place. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, here for ACPW versus NWL, the Fantasy Series, Season 2, Episode 1. I am so excited to get this going, and with me, as always, the man of the hour, the man with the power, the man too sweet to be sour, the one, the only Bay Area Brawler, Skyler Greenberg. How are you doing today, sir?
And not in note form, because my last appearance was Mick Foley Dude Love impersonation.
That's right, Grammar Note Sky. It is now you in the flesh. The actual Bay Area Brawler returns for what I can only imagine is going to be a terrific season debut for the National Wrestling League for whatever purposes it might serve.
For my own entertainment and for your entertainment, but only if you hit the notification, hit the bell button, subscribe, and share the Court Martial Podcast.
You know how it is, folks. That's how it goes. It's the like, it's the share, it's the subscribe. You got to switch that bell button, not just from personalized, but to all. So every time that we post something, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a special edition podcast, whether it's a regular podcast, a wrestling review, or one of these bad boys, you are kept abreast of everything going on in the Court Martial Podcast. And there is no lack of being abreast here at the Court Martial Podcast. Isn't that right, Skyler?
Exactly, which is why you need to always hit that bell button harder than Nia Jax hits the ring apron.
That's right. And while we will not be screaming out what some television programs might be considered obscene, we will do that in our own way, but on our own shows and on our own time. And it is with that in mind that I will now pass the baton, if you will, to the National Wrestling League for what I am sure is going to be a tremendous podcast. But actually, before I do that, because I know Skyler's in the middle of something as he's preparing his show, I want to just announce a little bit of what's going to be going on in the next couple of weeks as far as the programming here on the Court Martial Podcast is concerned. First of all, I'm sure you noticed we did not have a match of the week this week based on the circumstances that surrounded last week. And I did want to have a match of the week this week, but rest assured we will have one next week on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, in addition to having our live stream match of the week, which is going to happen on Tuesday night, we are debuting a very special podcast, JoshAgeddon. The man who, as I described in the announcement last week, was in a vehicular excursion. The man who kicked out at 2 talks to your Colonial champion about the entire day, what went on, how he felt, what processes were, what good happened, what bad happened. You can hear it all, a first-hand account. It's a fun podcast, especially for a topic like that. It's going to be a blast. That happens on Tuesday. And then Friday, we are going to be doing our Elimination Chamber review. Aren't you excited, Sky?
No.
Oh, come on, man. Where's your spirit? Feel the love, man. It was just Valentine's Day.
The only thing I'm feeling is intimate destruction.
and a little indigestion. Because that's usually what WWE does. WWE, it's infinite destruction, then it makes you want an antacid. And I have this, and I'm not saying that I'm going to predict something, but it's going to be a pretty fiendish night, if I say so myself.
Look, let's just get this out of the way, okay? Royal Rumble was a good show. All three of us enjoyed Royal Rumble.
Yes.
In no way do any of the three of us have any hopes that they're going to follow it up.
They do not have it in them.
Exactly. But there's that, and then I don't even want to talk about the other company.
Well, yeah, and then right after that, as if that weren't enough to get you excited, actually, it's going to be 2 weeks following. We're going to have a regular show in between, but then following that, we are going to be having on, I believe it's going to be the 12th of March, because I believe the 7th is AEW Revolution. And we are going to be reviewing that in March. So say that is on the 12th that's going to come out. On the 5th is a very special, because I don't know whether you know this guy, but on March the 5th, that is going to be our special Your Colonial Champions 28th birthday podcast. It's a celebration. That's right, folks. It is my birthday on March the 5th, and we are going to have ourselves a blasty blast and have a whole bunch of birthday-themed wrestling talk. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be fun. So a lot going on, as well as our typical match of the weeks that we're going to have the live streams on Tuesday and everything in between. It is no more exciting a time to be a part of the Core Martial podcast and a part of the Colony. And we thank you already for joining us now, then, forever. But enough of rearranging a couple words to not be hit for copyright infringement on another wrestling company's program. It's time for some proper wrestling.
All right. So do you have your match card? I should have sent it to you in between that great introduction.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. Intimate Oh, okay. I see. That was a pun. I did not know this.
Yes, I actually used the
all right. And you folks have seen this.
Before anyone asked, St. Valentine's Day Massacre was copyrighted, so I couldn't take it.
I understood. I understand. All right, well, let's get this going. I am excited. NWL, Skylar Greenberg, Bay Area Brawler, the floor is yours.
All right. Now, I do want to provide an important context, and you'll need to remember this, especially with the main event.
Okay.
There was a pay-per-view that happened in January.
Okay.
And so I'm going to pretend like a pay-per-view happened in January, and we didn't talk about it, but now we're here in February. Because I'm sure you're wondering why it's Kevin Owens and Jon Moxley if AJ Styles was the number one contender.
Yes.
Well, they had that match in January, Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. But if you remember, AJ screwed Jon Moxley out of the title shot when he low-blowed him in the number one contendership match in the December pay-per-view.
Yes.
So, Jon Moxley provided a distraction for AJ, and Kevin Owens took advantage of it. And now Jon Moxley gets his shot at Kevin Owens, which he should, because he should have won that match in December if it wasn't for AJ's dirty move. So just remember that context, okay, folks?
And that is our main event, is Kevin Owens and Jon Moxley for the NWL Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, it is. Now, going into the rankings very quickly, you may notice that there are asterisks next to Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
All three are unfortunately injured and are unable to compete.
Okay.
So we'll see how the show goes. We may see some of them, we may not. It just depends.
Interesting. What was the nature? I mean, Drew was injured against Kevin Owens, right?
Yep. Daniel Bryan was injured against Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns is still recovering from the fractured jaw for being claymored too many times by Drew.
Right. Okay. With you now.
From the November pay-per-view, which was Wrestle Festival.
Got it.
Which, by the way, that should speak to how dangerous Drew McIntyre's claymores are. If they fractured Roman's jaw and he still can't wrestle.
Yeah, and he's still selling that injury, and I mean, still has that injury, I should say, but yeah.
Yep, and Daniel Bryan and Drew McIntyre both have neck injuries because Kevin Owens is a heartless bastard.
Wow. Brutal.
Anyways, we shall begin with 3 preliminary show matches. First one is Bianca Belair versus Dana Brooke. And Sean, guess what happens?
I would hope that Dana Brooke throws herself over the top rope and believes that it's the Royal Rumble, has been eliminated, walks to the back and gets counted out, where Bianca Belair just looks and wondering what the hell was that and wins the match. Am I close?
No, that's not what happens. No, that's not what happens. First off, you are a masochist.
Well, only for the people. I do it for the people.
Yes. But no, Bianca Belair destroys Dana Brooke. It only takes a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that sounds more accurate.
Exactly. Now, here's what happens after the match. Bianca Belair makes her way back up the entrance ramp. As she makes her way back up the entrance ramp, Rhea Ripley comes out, and both of these women stop and stare at each other. And you can hear Rhea Ripley nod her head and say, "Not bad. Now watch what I'm going to do." So Bianca Belair, she stays at the entrance ramp. Naomi makes her entrance, and the next match is Rhea Ripley versus Naomi. Now, guess what happens in this match?
Well, I'm going to assume that Naomi gets Rhea Ripley, jumps her from the start, brings her into the turnbuckle, just starts wailing on her so hard, just punch after punch after punch. Rhea Ripley's trying to cover up, but she's just getting the tar beaten out of her. And the referee goes to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and disqualifies Naomi for being too tough on Rhea Ripley. Am I close?
Not even close. No. Rhea Ripley destroys Naomi in a couple of minutes, even faster than Bianca Belair.
That sounds more accurate.
Yep, and Rhea Ripley poses at Bianca Belair, who is standing in the entrance ramp, and Bianca Belair nodding her head says, all right.
So definitely a little postulating, if you will, between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair.
Yes, it is. And now we shall move on to the third preliminary show match.
Your favorite tag team is in this match, I see.
No, they're not. They're not my favorite tag team. And I purposely tried to find the most derpiest picture I could find of these two folks, and I found it.
That's probably the most manly picture those two guys have.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I like the duck face. I like the big fat duck face that Matt Jackson has. He's got a quack all over the professional wrestling world.
Yes. So these two teams, they start, and you want to know how they start?
By just doing a bunch of spots?
No, Matt Jackson goes up to Carl Anderson and holds up the Wolfpack hand and wants the 2-sweet. And Carl Anderson makes the go for the 2-sweet and then kicks him in the belly.
Good.
And this match is quick. It's short. The Good Brothers win. Thanks, Young Bucks. See you later.
All right. Well, at least you're doing with them what I expected you to do with them, which is where they belong. So, good on you, sir. Oh, Christ. Oh, my God.
Now we move on to the main show, and
that's for those of you who did. I just scrolled up. See, I'm following this PowerPoint like you guys are, but I'm seeing these a little bit ahead of where I'm posting them on the actual video. So I just saw this next match, and that's the reaction it just gave me. Oh, Christ. Why don't you tell them what it is so they can know what it is?
The tag team of the North versus Otis and Rhino, the new heavy machinery.
Also known as Big Beef.
All beef, all bad.
All beef all the time. We don't get beef, we stay beef.
The the biggest, the baddest, and the beefiest.
This faction needs Mojo Rawley, and then it'd be perfect.
Well, it's a 3-man faction with those two and Heath Slater.
Oh, okay, all right. That's, you know what? That's actually better.
Yes.
So what happened to this match, Sky?
Hold on. Let me pull up my notes real quick.
This is debauchery right here.
Beautiful.
This is just debauchery.
So Ethan Page starts this match with Otis, and Otis is in control for the first part of it, and he does his, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
And then Rhino tags in. He does his stuff. And by the way, I want you to know something. Did you know that Rhino also goes, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah?
Yeah, but he doesn't try to imitate the Kool-Aid Man when he does it. Rhino sounds like he's actually just trying.
Yeah. The Rhino's in the ring. Josh Alexander tags out for Ethan Page. Josh Alexander goes low on Rhino. Then the North start working on Rhino. Otis is trying to fire up the crowd. After a couple minutes, the Rhino gets a little bit of separation, goes for the hot tag. Otis is the hot tag, working his way over the North. And then, as he sets up for his finisher, the North go low once again for a chop block. They kick Rhino off the apron. They hit their team finisher. 1, 2, 3.
Wow. That's a statement. I mean, you look at the size of a team like Otis and Rhino, and you look at the size of a team like the North, and the fact that the North outsmarted a big guys like that, that's a stunner. That is a stunner of a victory for the North. They're going places.
But is it actually? Because the North are a very smart tag team. They're not going to overpower them, but they outsmarted them.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the craziest thing with the North because like the photo you've got of them actually makes them look a lot bulkier than they often look, and so it makes it look a little bit better. But by size comparison, you'd think that they'd get squashed, but that's still a huge win for the North.
Yes, it is. And now, are you ready for this next one?
Absolutely.
So, normally with debuting talents, we don't give them video packages, and usually their matches are on the pre-show. But this particular spot was paid for by one Pat McAfee. So, we zoom out, and we go to a football field, and we see a football, and it gets kicked, goes through the uprights, and the man turns around, and it is Pat McAfee. And he talks about his success on the football field. He's an all-pro punter. He is the leg of all legs. In fact, they took his leg, and they mauled it, and they put it in the Smithsonian because of its greatness. But now, he is here to wrestle. And why? Because it's fun. Pat McAfee is doing this for fun. He's not doing this for anyone else's pleasure. He's doing it for himself. You can like that if you want. You can hate it if you want. I don't care about you ugly people because I'm Pat McAfee. And I'm here now.
All right. Welcome to wrestling, Pat.
With his debut, Pat McAfee versus Heath Slater.
Oh, no. Poor Heath. Poor Heath.
Oh, by the way, I should mention number 10 ranked Heath Slater.
I know.
Pat McAfee.
But, I mean, there's only one way this match can go after this video package, and I wanted him to not suffer this.
So Pat McAfee holds out his hand to shake Heath Slater. And as Heath Slater goes to shake the hand, Pat McAfee kicks him in the gut, goes off the ropes, gives him the punch kick. Cover. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, Heath. I didn't want this for you. But you know what? But here's something, just on a side note, before we get going on this, just a little moment for Heath Slater, because this is no knock on him, because I think we all really appreciate his talent. I mean this in an endearing way. He's a hell of a jobber. And you need guys who are hell of a jobbers. And that's not a knock on the guy whatsoever. I love watching Heath work. But it's a great...
I do too. It's just that Heath Slater at his best is a mid-card babyface. And you could build him up to be a mid-card babyface if you wanted to. But he just does so well putting other people over.
Yeah, and it's very revealing that we both ended up having that for him. Even though he got a couple of wins, in ACPW, and he could still get definitely several wins in NWL. But really, it's the perfect spot for him because you need the people on the certain parts of the totem pole. And just respect to Heath Slater, but that's the realization. You may want to push Heath, but sometimes you just can't do that with some people.
Unfortunate. But this is important because it establishes Pat McAfee as a cocky, dangerous man.
Yeah, and also a dick.
And a dick. But hey, he's a dick that makes money, and the people are booing him out of the arena.
Yeah, people hate dicks that make money. It's true. It's true.
It's damn true. Just remember, by the way, people, that Kurt Angle is my general manager. So
that's right. That's canon.
That is canon. So now we're going to move on to a couple of video packages / promos. The first one from Edge. And he says that after his victory against Seth Rollins at the December show, he feels like a liberated man. But now it's no longer about fighting other men. It's no longer about his self-confidence. For him, it is about the World Championship. And he sees it's in his sights, and no one's going to stop him.
Well, now that Edge has finally gotten his victory, finally gotten his mojo back, baby. If there's ever a time for Edge to truly make that move, it's now.
It is. But speaking of the men's EP, we turn to Seth Rollins and his package / promo. So Seth Rollins, he is dejected at first. And he says he lost to Edge, and he can't believe it, and he failed. But he is the Messiah. And what does he do better than anyone else? He reborn from the ashes. And he feels that the Black Hand was a weakness, a crutch, because he depended on it too much. So he got rid of it. Now he is his own man. He is the Messiah. And he will be champion once again. And he sees someone with a lot of potential, the limitless one, Keith Lee. Well, Keith Lee, listen up. I'm laying the challenge. You and me, and I will make you have limits, and I'll break you.
Okay. So
Seth, a little bit of a transition for Rollins.
Yeah, Seth going a different direction with it. But it's but I think the Black Hand, dropping the Black Hand, helps Seth. It'll be interesting to see how the Messiah gimmick continues to work in his favor, but I feel like in a way it's kind of like when they just called him the Architect or whatever it was, where it's just Seth Rollins.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to say right now, I'm going to tease this right now, Seth Rollins is not going to have the Messiah gimmick for long.
Okay. We'll have to see how you do it. I wonder if you'll burn it down. All right, let's move on.
Fun there, man.
Let's move on.
So now, we'll move on to the man that he called out, the international champion, Keith Lee, and he will be going up against Sami Zayn.
Number 9, right? Sami Zayn.
Yep.
Newly acquired Sami Zayn.
Yep, recently acquired Sami Zayn. But unfortunately, I did not acquire Sami Zayn for his bravery. You want to know how this match starts?
Running away.
Exactly. The bell rings and Sami Zayn rolls out of the ring. And Keith Lee is frustrated. He waits for Sami Zayn to get up to the apron. He goes to 5. Sami Zayn gets back in. Keith Lee charges him again, but Sami Zayn goes to the ropes and goes in between. The referee counts off Keith Lee. 1, 2, 3. Before he even gets to 4, Sami Zayn kicks at Keith Lee's knee. But Keith Lee ain't having it. He grabs Sami Zayn and feels him across the ring. Then he picks him up and he deals him across the other side. And he is working like an angry man. He starts picking apart Sami Zayn like the little guy he is. But Zayn gets to the opening. He grabs Keith Lee's shoulder and he rings it off the apron ring rope. And now Sami Zayn works on that arm. He puts it through hell for several minutes. Finally, Keith Lee gets wind. He's a one-armed man on a wrecking machine. He starts taking up Sami Zayn, beating him down. He starts picking him up and slamming him around. He gets him up for his finisher, the spirit bomb, but he can't do it because of the limited arm. Sami Zayn pushes him off into the ring apron. Sami goes for the haluva kick, but Keith Lee catches him, picks him up, goes for the spirit bomb one more time despite the pain. He hits him. Cover 1, 2, 3.
How long did this match go?
It went about 12 minutes.
Okay. I see it.
By the way, I am doing something new this year. I'm trying to go faster because I realized that I kind of went long on several of my shows last year.
Well, it honestly, it happens. It happened to me too. And by the way, this is actually a good time to bring up, we are no longer going to be doing, except for our actual main, like, coup de grace, WrestleMania type shows, or we may not even do it then. We are not requiring the everybody has to be on the show requirement this year. It's just, that's not realistic unless we start doing battle royals, and that's just lazy. And B, because it's more fun to cycle through talent and keep some in the dark and keep some present.
Exactly, because I have 3 guys who are injured, and I have a 4th guy who I haven't even debuted yet, and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, and I've got somebody I have 0 plans for right now that I'm sitting on, and I have no idea when I'm going to drop him or how. So
Is that name Brock Lesnar?
that is 100% Brock Lesnar. And,
Well,
can I tease something to you before you kick? I want to tell you one of my rejected ideas, because I'm not going to do it.
what is your rejected idea?
I thought about, without giving any context, I thought about pairing him with either Finn Balor or Johnny Gargano.
That's a waste.
And here's why I didn't do it. Because I would have to come up with some sort of justification for why Brock freaking Lesnar, after everything he's done, would bother to be with somebody that small and insignificant. And I had nothing good. So
You could, if you wanted to, draw on their history between Finn Balor and Brock Lesnar, because they had a match before, and how Brock Lesnar respected Finn Balor, but that's a stretch.
Yeah,
because
it's just
Brock Lesnar usually doesn't give a damn about people.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So we're back to the drawing board, so to speak. But we are still in the middle of your show, sir. I did not mean to usurp it.
It's okay. So during this time, Keith Lee has gotten a microphone and in the middle of the ring with his championship. And he says, and still your international champion, Keith Lee. And hey, Seth Rollins, I heard your challenge. And you say I don't have any limits. That I don't have any limits. But you think you can put them on me. Well, trust me, brother. Everyone's tried to put limits on me since the day I came here. But I just keep proving them wrong. I keep shattering them apart. I beat Nick Aldis. I became the National Wrestling Alliance champion. I beat Andrade Cien Almas. I became international champion. And I'm not afraid of you, you Messiah. So bring it on, and let's see what you've got. And Keith Lee puts the championship down. Who's expecting Seth Rollins to come out? But what comes out instead is someone who's back, and he's better than ever.
Oh, snap.
And here comes Eric Bischoff, Bobby Lashley, and Apollo Crews. And Eric Bischoff with the microphone says, and that's the guy I'm looking for. I can take this. I can make you a world champion. Look at these 2 men next to me. All 3 of you under my guidance. We could do something magical. So please, Keith Lee, I gave you the offer. What do you say? Keith Lee picks up his championship, picks up the microphone and says, Eric, I respect you in the amount of success you've had in this business, and I recognize the power of Bobby Lashley and the speed of Apollo Crews. But listen here, I'm international champion. I got this on my own, and I can be world champion if I want to, and I don't need your help. So thanks for the offer, but no thanks. I'm good. And Eric Bischoff, from a smile to a frown, he grabs his chin, frustrated. Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews step forward, and the three of them start walking towards the ring. Keith Lee in a defensive position. When they get close to the ring apron, Eric Bischoff with the microphone again. That's disappointing. But perhaps you could be persuaded. See, why don't you watch this next match? And I'll give you a little bit more time. But please, consider my offer. And I will expect an answer yes the next time I talk to you. And if not, well, I can't be responsible for what these two may do.
Well, there's definitely tension, but you never know where this is headed. I think that Keith Lee, you never know. He could see some magic here in this tag match and maybe think, maybe. And Eric is a very persuasive man. We know this about Bischoff.
It is, and the interesting thing is Keith Lee involved in multiple storylines and multiple feuds. He just beat Sami Zayn. He's got a challenge from Seth Rollins, and he's trying to be recruited by Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, he's a pretty big factor in the show here.
Because in wrestling, it should all be one show. It should all be connected, and not just everyone put into their own bubble with someone else.
Yeah, in their own way. I mean, they're all working together, right?
Exactly. And now we're going to move on to that next match that Eric Bischoff was talking about. The Tornado tag team match between the New Day, Kofi Kingston, Big E, with the manager, Xavier Woods, versus Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews. Now, you remember how their last matchup in the December show went down?
Yes.
Why don't you tell the folks what happened?
Well, why don't you tell the folks what happened? Because I have...
I was touching you there.
Well,
so what happened at the December show was that these two were in a tag team match until all hell broke loose, and the referee counted 10 and disqualified both teams, but they still kept brawling with each other, and referees and officials had to break it up.
Yes, now I remember. So, thank you for the recap. I was there. I saw it all. I saw it all happen.
But that's what happens with pay-per-views 2 months from now. Do you remember what happened? No, not really.
Yeah, that is kind of how it goes. I mean, that's kind of WWE's fault in part because they made so many pay-per-views and were like, oh yeah, right, that happened a couple months ago. Like I just remembered, it was Elimination Chamber. It was 3 years ago that Sasha Banks originally turned on Bayley in the Chamber by just randomly kicking her.
It was a singles match, I guess.
And I totally forgot about that until the Instagram brought it up. I was like, oh, yeah. So these things happen.
That is fair. But now that chaos can happen in a legal match because it's Tornado Tag.
That's right.
So all four competitors can be in the ring at the same time. Now,
that's right.
I do want to be very clear. No disqualification is not happening. You can still be disqualified if you use a weapon. Because I'm not doing the damn thing where I book a no disqualification match for the fuck of it. Because that's lazy.
Right. Understood. And respected.
Looking at you, AEW.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Fucking gimmick on a gimmick.
Don't want to stare, but you can't look away.
Exactly. Anyways. So these four men, Apollo Crews, Bobby Lashley, Big E, and Kofi Kingston, they don't even wait for the bell. They start punching the shit out of each other. And this is turning into a brawl, which it should be. It goes about 14 minutes. And the whole time, the big focus is on the two big men, Bobby Lashley and Big E, who go at it consistently. And at one point, Big E tries to go for the big ending, but Bobby Lashley is too big and falls on Big E. Finally, and to finish for this match, Big E goes for the big ending one more time on Bobby Lashley. Kofi Kingston's going for the top rope to do the midnight hour. But Apollo Crews jumps up, pushes Kofi, takes him off, and Kofi lands on Xavier Woods. Big E has to let Bobby go. Apollo Crews kicks Big E in the face. Bobby Lashley picks him up. Choke slam. Cover. 1, 2, 3.
Bobby Lashley with a choke slam, huh?
I'm giving Bobby Lashley a choke slam finisher to go with the what's the finisher submission? I can't remember.
I forget what they called it.
The Lashley lock.
Yeah. Oh, the Hurt Lock.
The Hurt Lock. But I'm giving him the choke slam as an alternate finisher.
Okay. I'm trying. It's hard. I would not picture. Weirdly, I couldn't picture Bobby doing it, but I could. Now that I'm picturing it, yeah. I mean, he's got the size for it.
He's got the size and the power for it, and it would look impressive if he did a choke slam on Big E.
Yeah. It would. That it would.
But the other thing too is that I don't like guys who only have a submission finisher or girls with only a submission finisher because in certain situations that doesn't really work.
Yeah, and you need a quick finish.
That's why with those guys, I like to give them another finisher to go along with it. Plus, it makes them more dangerous because they have 2 ways to finish you.
That's why a lot of times, and that's one of the things that, Flair goes down as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, bar none. But there's a big reason that a lot of the matches ended in draws and disqualifications and countouts because Rick really didn't do a whole lot of pinning people.
No, unfortunately, he had a bunch of matches that his finisher was the figure 4, but if only he had something else to go along with it.
Well, that's that's all the pro wrestling tricks of him being the dirtiest player in the game and being a heel. And which, honestly, you could argue he didn't need to pin many people because that was enough to get by and definitely enough to get people to want to see him again.
True. So now we move on to arguably one of my favorite dream matches that I wish we could have get.
This would be something.
The Bar versus the Motor City Machine Gun. And the Bar, former ACPW wrestlers, now National Wrestling League Tag Team Champions.
Yes, that's right.
And the Bar, they start this match on top. They are in control of the Machine Gun. And the Machine Guns, they cannot get out of the blocks. Every time they try to pick up the pace, the Bar just grind them down. Sheamus, in particular, is a man on a mission, destroying the Machine Guns, but no mercy, no sympathy at all. Finally, after several minutes of action, Alex Shelley gets the hot tag to Chris Sabin, and Chris Sabin goes for it. He starts going on Sheamus. Cesaro tries to get involved, but it's not to come because Chris Sabin catches him. He goes back to Alex Shelley, and now the Machine Guns are in control, and they're firing up, and they're looking really good against Sheamus, and they're about to go for their finisher. Cesaro runs in, and he disrupts the finisher, and the Machine Guns, they jump out Cesaro, but before they can do anything else, Sheamus with a bro kick on both of the Machine Guns. Cover. 1, 2, 3.
Now, I'm assuming that means that he hit each one of them with a separate brogue kick.
Yes, he did.
Okay, because for a second, I was trying to imagine how he could have possibly hit both of them simultaneously with 2 brogue kicks and make that look feasible. But okay, that makes way more sense. Great match.
Because I tried to think about that too, but I'm like, there's no way Sheamus could do it.
Yeah, without it looking very much like they were lining up to take half a foot, and make it look contrived.
By the way, could Drew McIntyre do a double Claymore kick in a triple threat match?
Theoretically.
That'd be something I want to. Okay. I'm going into a bit of dream booking, but that would be cool. Honestly.
I think we'll save that for when Drew's healthy again.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'll see where it goes from there.
Yep. So now we're going to move on to the co-main event, the NWL Women's Championship match. The champion Toni Storm versus Charlotte Flair in a rematch. And this is just a straight singles match. It's not going to be gimmick or anything. And before before Toni Storm begins her match against Charlotte Flair, she enters the ring. And as she enters the ring, she's attacked from behind by Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley blasts her in the head and then picks her up and hits the riptide and stands over her. And Charlotte has not even made her entrance yet.
But why?
Thoughts, my man?
But why?
But why? Well, obvious. She wants to be the top girl, and Toni Storm is the champion, no?
Yeah, no, obviously I get that, but she just did this whole posturing thing with Bianca Belair in the early part of the show, and then to see her come out and attack Toni Storm, it's weird to see her pop up again in a different context. That's all. It just it threw me a little bit.
Well, do you want to know why I'm doing it?
I mean, it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that made me confused, because it makes me want to see what happens next and how this all turns in, which is also a credit to your format of how you're trying to intermingle everybody and keep everybody in the mix of everyone else.
Because it's all one show and everyone is involved, and it's not just one person wrestles another person and it's a bubble. Because WWE especially likes to do that, where they spin two people off in a feud and then they only interact with each other every single week.
That's right. And that's no fun.
But now Toni Storm, she has a championship match. And Charlotte Flair, taking her sweet-ass time to get to the ring, she is seeing blood in the water. And before Toni Storm can get up, Charlotte Flair kicks her in the face. Because why not? And she drops the robe, poses over Toni Storm. The referee has to check on Toni. Toni, the defiant babyface, wants to continue. So they go into this match, and Charlotte has Toni on the back end. And Charlotte is softening Toni up. She is using every weapon in her arsenal, including a crappy moonsault, including the natural selection. But Toni Storm...
I mean, yay, but no.
But Toni Storm, he still kicks out at 2 because the natural selection is not a finisher, right, Sean?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
The finish for this match is Charlotte getting ready for the figure 8. But as she goes for it, Toni reverses it into a surprise roll-up. 1, 2, kick out. But Charlotte gets up, and she's about to hit Toni Storm with a big boot. Toni ducks it. They go over the rope. Crossbody by Toni Storm. He picks up Charlotte. She hits the Storm Zero powerbomb. Cover. 1, 2, 3.
Wow. Somehow survived a brutal attack out of nowhere and retained her title against the John Cena of the women's division herself, Charlotte Flair.
I would also say the Roman Reigns of the...
Yeah.
John Cena or Roman Reigns or both?
Probably closer to Roman Reigns just because of draw powers, and John Cena just has sold way, way, way more tickets than Charlotte Flair. Not a knock, just a fact.
Plus, also, at some point, John Cena was liked by people when he was being pushed into the babyface.
Yeah, until about, what, late 2005? Yeah, because people rejoiced when Edge won that world title off him at New Year's Revolution. And then got wicked pissed when he won it back.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, we'll leave John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Charlotte stuff out
for another time.
We don't need to make those.
Another time.
Yeah, another time. So now we have our main event. It is Kevin Owens versus Jon Moxley.
All right, let's go.
And these two men, they have history. And that history leads to a quick start. We don't even get ring intros for this because both of these men, they can't wait for the ring intro.
That's right.
They start doing the hockey punches.
That's right.
Which I know you hate, Sean.
I do.
But hey, hockey punches are hockey punches.
Hey, it's a hot start. I'll allow it.
It's a hot start. And Jon Moxley and Kevin Owens, this is a very even contest. They go for a good 18 minutes. and they go hold for hold. This is not a brawl outside the ring. They go out a couple times to use a couple of the ring apron spots, but they don't do anything severely outside the ring. It's purely between two men for the world title, and they're using everything in their arsenal. The finish for this match is Kevin Owens trying to hit the pop-up powerbomb, but Jon Moxley kicks him as Owens is setting it up. And Jon Moxley grabs him and about to hit his paradigm shift DDT. But AJ Styles comes from the other side of the ring with a chair.
Of course.
In order to stop him, Jon Moxley has to push Kevin Owens off. And Kevin Owens runs into the referee, and they both go down into the corner. AJ Styles swings the chair at Jon Moxley. He misses because Moxley ducks it. And then as they turn around, Moxley kicks AJ in the stomach. The chair drops between the two of them. Jon Moxley grabs AJ and hits the paradigm shift DDT on AJ on the chair. And then Jon Moxley grabs AJ, throws him over the top rope, grabs the chair, and throws it at AJ and starts yelling at AJ. But Kevin Owens takes advantage, turns him around, hits the stunner, cover, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I wish Kevin Owens were not the third wheel in that scenario, but I think that was the right move to make considering what happened the month prior.
Exactly.
So I understand why the decision was made. What made me laugh during this is I looked at both Kevin Owens and Jon Moxley, and I would love to be a fly on the wall for you to pitch to these two. I want you guys to spend the first 10 minutes in the ring, not do anything outside, no brawling, no nothing. I want you to just technically wrestle. I would love to hear how these two would react to that sentence.
I would tell them that you're going to wrestle in the damn ring. You can do a couple of spots outside in the apron when you feel like it, but you're spending most of the time in the damn ring. And Kevin Owens was a champion, and I made him champion, so he's going to do it. Jon Moxley, I'm going to tell, either you do it or I'm firing you.
Yeah, and no offense to John, but ACPW is not hiring at this moment.
I wouldn't want you to hire him.
And it's not because I don't think Moxley can work. It's just I like my roster the way it is.
But it's also the fact that Jon Moxley doesn't really work.
Okay, a little bit, just a little bit. But
That's weird though, because as Dean Ambrose in WWE, he was wrestling in the ring for most of his matches, except when it was a gimmick match. But even then,
that's
at
the
that
thing.
Point, they were adequately built enough.
He can work. He chooses not to. So if you were a boss who said no, you're gonna work, motherfucker, then he's gonna work.
Exactly. That's where I draw the line with Jon Moxley, is that you are working in the ring.
Yeah.
You do a couple of spots outside the ring, but you're doing it in most of the damn ring.
Yeah. Hey, I hear you. I totally hear you. So, all in all,
NWL Intimate Destruction.
All in all, I think that this show progressed a lot of things, definitely started a lot of new directions that I'm interested to see. I'm very interested to see what happens with this Ripley and Belair situation now that Toni Storm was thrown into the mix and fended off Charlotte Flair. I'm very excited to see what next comes up for the Young Bucks. Definitely want to see what they're up to.
No.
I definitely want to see how Pat McAfee progresses, where he's going to head along, and I kind of get this feeling that that Edge and McAfee might be something that comes along, because Edge might see a little bit of himself in McAfee. Rollins is going up against Keith Lee next time around, and Keith Lee's got Eric Bischoff to contend with. There's a lot going on here. As you said prior to the podcast starting, there's a lot of moving parts, and there really are, and I really appreciate that about your format.
Exactly, because I think the way I'm booking my show is the way I wish WWE would book.
Yeah.
A universe where everyone interacts with each other and it's not all separated.
Yep.
Like, for example, that main event, 3 men involved in the main event. And I know Kevin Owens kind of took a backseat to Jon Moxley and AJ, but he will get his moment to shine. That's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's champion right now. And there's a lot of people who are going to be at his head.
He beat Drew McIntyre in December, so.
Yeah, and we got to wait until Drew's healthy to get the blow off from that, but there's got to be a follow-up to that.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on. That NWL is going to be exciting here in 2021. I guarantee you that.
Well, thank you. But we have not just one, but two shows. So why don't we go on to ACPW?
Well, that's right. And this is going to be, now, in a similar vein to what you said to me prior to the show, I also had a little bit of, I don't want to call it difficulty, but I had to decide what was important this week and what was important going forward. And in fact, I had to start this. This season, I started by already booking most of my show for May and working backwards. Because for the way that I work and the way that I book is I have to know where the destination is, so then I can put all the puzzle pieces together to get there. It's like, I know A, I know Z.
You don't book one show to the next show to the next show?
No, I can't do that. I honestly can't. I mean, for most of it, yes. Most of it I do show to show. But as far as like some of like the big moments, I want like big pinnacle points for certain feuds and certain things that go along there, especially when we do like, I'm going to do a big 3 where I'm going to do May, I'm going to do August, and I'm going to do December, where I'm going to have big shows. So
if only a certain company in Stamford, Connecticut could take your advice.
Yeah, so I mean, I told you last year, I told you when I did my show at the end of last year, Winter Warcraft, that I already have December 2021 booked. I do have December 2021's main event booked. I
feel like it's just going to turn into us taking pot shots at WWE and AEW.
Well, I mean, isn't that the whole point of this fantasy thing? Is to just show how feebly booked it is and show here's some basic principles that already make this more engaging than anything that they've got going for them.
That is true. That's why we started this.
That's right. We've spent 1 week a month crapping on wrestling product by proving that we can do it better just by booking and talking. And here we are. So, so now we start
I'm just worried that certain talents are going to show up here.
Well, just wait. Just wait. We've got a very interesting show. And forgive me here if you hear a lot of page flipping, because I did this on one sheet of loose leaf. And I kind of scribbled it together. This is not my finest booking sheet, but we begin with ACPW, of course. Welcome. We still have Matt Striker and Taz. They're still doing great. We're still having a good time. We begin with JR in the ring. He says, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the tag team champions of ACPW with their manager, as well as your new ACPW heavyweight champion. It is Jeff Cobb. It is FTR. It is Jim Cornette, and it is, of course, the newest addition, Randall Keith. Randy
Orton.
It is RKO. That's right. It is the cult of Cornette. They are here, and they have everything. So JR comes in. JR's in the ring, and the cult comes in, and JR goes, well, Jim, I'm obviously, I know that you know how to speak, so I know that I'm not going to really be necessary here, but this is a tremendous accomplishment that you have accomplished here. You've, in the entirety of just less than a year's time, have taken these 3 men and turned them into champions. Well, let me tell you something, Jim Ross. I said from the very beginning, when the injustice occurred, the very first week in ACPW, when Jeff Cobb was not entered into that championship tournament, that there would be hell to pay in ACPW, and it wouldn't matter where, and it wouldn't matter when, but when it's all said and done, Cornette always gets his way. I used to call mama, but now I call the shots. And I've got this man right here, the world champion, Jeff Cobb, who annihilated Brian Cage for this belt single-handedly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the greatest physical specimen ever to grace a wrestling ring, and he also gets paid the most, by the way. That's the honor you get as a champion, and that means that I'm getting a little cut too. And that kind of championship privilege is not just a little commission here and a little commission there, but how about these two, the tag champions, Dawson, Dash they used to be called, but I've just got a little dash of a champion, and I don't need to stand in awe in the dawn of a new tag team, because this is hardwood, and this is Wheeler, this is FTR, the first and only and permanent ACPW tag team champions. And guess what? They get paid the most here too, because they're the top guys, which means that nobody is making the kind of fresh bread that we are, and we know how to cook, and we know how to hunt, and there is no better man who knows how to hunt than this man. I consider this man the prodigy of a lifetime, a once-in-a-generation talent. Randy Orton, the son of Bob, Cowboy Bob, and a man that I trained all the way back in the day in OVW. And you, Randy, are the final piece of the proverbial puzzle for the cult of Cornette, because we have it all. We've got the Enforcer, we've got the tag champions, and we've got the dominant world's champion. Ain't it great to be on the top? You wouldn't know, JR. Let's get out of here. And they all walk away. So it's just a heel promo, and JR is pissed. And the fans are pissed.
As you could hear throughout the segment.
Yes. So what do you think about this opening segment here on them coming out and bragging about their championship victories?
I don't know what the crowd hated, the men or the puns.
Could be all of it. If Courtney did his job, then all of it. Well,
you could hear the crowd chant, and you could hear the anger in their voices, but they can't really argue because they are the champions.
That's
they
right.
Have all the gold.
That's right. And now Cornette and company are coming down the ring, JR says, hold on, guys, come back here. I just got an announcement. I was just handed a card here by the ring announcer here. Apparently, Arn Anderson has a message. And they go, oh, okay. And they said, come back in. So they start coming back in the ring. They said, all right. So what I've heard is Arn Anderson has announced 2 matches here tonight. Our main event is going to be the tag team champions, FTR, in action in a non-title match. And they will be facing Adam Cole and Roderick Strong.
Wow.
And they are pissed because they didn't. And Jim, of course, is like, no, we were not scheduled for matches tonight. We were not booked. We were not getting paid for having matches tonight. This is not going to happen. And JR says, Jim, I don't know what to tell you. This is coming from the office. This is coming from Arn. You know me. I don't lie to you. I shoot straight. But he's not done. Because apparently tonight, Randy, you're going to have a match. Because you are now a part of the ACPW roster. And your match is going to happen right now. Of course, gets a big pop. They're all freaking out. Orton's being like, what? That's ridiculous. Because, of course, he's wearing the tracksuit that he's going to eventually rip off because it's Randy Orton. And apparently, 2021 Randy Orton is all about the tracksuit.
Well, it's for the ladies, too.
It is for the ladies. Tracksuit. Ladies are all about the tracksuits now. And
no. They're all about shirtless Randy Orton.
And when they, it might be both. Could be both. Maybe they dig the tracksuits and then really dig Randy Orton when he takes his shirt off. So okay, it's Randy Orton.
Women and Skyler everywhere.
They're getting mad. They're getting pissed. We're like, who the hell could this be that Randy's got to fight here? And Arn and Jim says, well, I want to tell you, but I mean, he's ready. I mean, this match is happening right now. So if you guys could please leave the ring. We got a referee coming in here. Randy, here is your opponent. Out comes... I'm going to do my best to try and imitate the music here. Play it again! Yeah! Yeah! Or if you are a more impactful person, Rob Van Dam! The whole epic show! Rob Van Dam! Okay.
The things we do to avoid copyright.
Point made. Here comes RVD. And of course...
Does he come with his girlfriend too?
No, he does not. Katie Forbes is elsewhere. You gotta wait for Katie Forbes. Yeah, you gave me Katie. You gotta wait for her. This is just...
I'm starting to regret giving her to you.
You should. You honestly should. I cannot wait until you hear where she pops up. Anyway.
Well, Randy Orton versus RVD. That's an interesting match.
Randy Orton versus Rob Van Dam to start the show, no less. This match...
Start the show.
Now, normally, I don't give good matches up early in the show. Like, ever. I am going to make an exception because this is Rob Van Dam and Randy Orton. This match...
What is a good way to start the show?
This match goes an abnormally long 15 minutes. It's a 20...
Okay.
It was a 20-minute time limit match, but this match is going to go long. But, of course, how it's going to end is Van Dam is going to make the big comeback. And because... You know, as much as they want fantasy to be fantasy, they have to have some level of realism in this. And Randy Orton is just slower than molasses. So he's going to take his time getting heat.
That's true. That's Randy Orton in a nutshell.
So Van Dam makes his comeback, and then finally he goes up to hit the 5-star. He goes for the 5-star, but stupidly does Rob Van Dam, does the little posing in the corner before he hits it, goes for the 5-star. Orton recovers just in time to hit the RKO mid 5-star frog splash. 1, 2, 3.
RKO out of nowhere.
How else are you supposed to book this guy?
You book him with a figure 4 leg lock.
No. No,
Ric Flair.
I'm not going to let Randy... I mean, he already established the RKO when he did it to Bryan. And also, that would be so weird to completely just wipe him of that finisher after that's basically how he made the money he's made.
That is true.
So, I have to let Orton do that. But this match, I wanted to give the folks... For Season 2, I wanted to give them a good match to start out. And a 15-minute Orton and Van Dam match with a 5-star into an RKO, which I think, if they did it right, would look bomb.
Yes, it would.
So that's how we do. So then we come up with the hype. We move on to a vignette. Of course, we got Stryker and Taz who are talking about that match, going, oh, my God, well, what does this mean for Van Dam? And he went competitively with Orton. You know, but of course, Orton's still picking up the win, even though he didn't do anything. I mean, he's healing it up, but he didn't necessarily cheat.
But he didn't have to. He's enough of a dick to where he didn't have to.
So then we come up with the promos for the what's coming up next week. Next week, we are going to have MJF in action, as he is currently still recovering from his brutal last man standing match that he had with Cody Rhodes. So next week, MJF will be in action. Dustin Rhodes is going to make an appearance. The legendary, the natural Dustin Rhodes, coming up next week, also known as next month here on the Court Martial Podcast. We announce a match. It is going to be Outlaw Inc., which is, of course, Eddie Kingston and Homicide taking on Orange Guava. which is the team of Orange Cassidy and Sammy Guevara. And Jeff Cobb is going to be in action as well. The world's champion in action. Shorty G will be there. Titus O'Neil will be there.
I have one question.
It's that.
Does Orange Guava have a manager?
Does Hornswoggle? Does who have a manager?
Orange Guava.
Does Orange Guava have a manager? Well, you'll have to tune in next week. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just showing you what the tape says, which says it's Outlaw Inc. versus Orange Guava. If they have a manager, they may have a manager. They may not.
Because I know we suggested one last time.
Well, I will not reveal my hand. I will keep it close to my chest and not reveal my hand yet.
As you should, because kayfabe is still real to me, damn it.
That's right. That's right. On a wrestling podcast made by Smarks for Smarks, kayfabe matters. But moving on. Next up, we have a match between two new acquisitions. And before this match starts, we get a pre-tape. And this pre-tape is very small. It's only about not even 30 seconds. And it's a man who's, you see there's like smoke coming from the back. And it's like a really cheesy room. Like, imagine like 80s cheesy room where like the really bad fog machines, right? And then like with green painted hair, and he's in like a kimono or something, and he just very quietly goes, "This is my art, and I will express my art for the world.
Oh no.
All the world shall witness the glory of art as I stand next to Picasso, and I stand next to Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and I say, yes, I am yours, and you are mine, and we are equals, and I will share my art with all of you." Kenny Omega. The next match. And of course, it has to have the really cheesy, like, bar across it where it's like really in sparkles, and it has the word like the words Kenny Omega in like really big script, and it like wipes across the screen like the Emelina. It looks like the Emelina videos. Remember they had like Emelina go shing? I mean, I want this to be territory level bad, like bad grade, bad quality, but so bad it's funny type of bad.
Like South Paul regional wrestling.
Yes, that's how bad I want it. It's like that's the way I want him to be. So in the ring already is Kenny Omega, and out comes with an intro another new acquisition, Hangman Adam Page.
You did not.
The very first match that both of these gentlemen have is against each other. It is Adam Page versus Kenny Omega.
You promised you wouldn't do that.
But here's why. This match goes 2 minutes. Kenny Omega goes for a collar and elbow tie-up that looks like absolute garbage. Immediately, Adam Page puts him into a headlock. They go for a shoot-off, drop-down leapfrog. I'll let him do that because that's standard, right? Drop-down leapfrog.
Right.
Drop-down leapfrog, and then Omega misses the clothesline immediately, and right from there, Hangman Adam Page just hits him with a giant neck breaker or something big from that miss. Right from the miss of the clothesline, a big back body drop or a body slam. That's a good one. Let's just do a standard body slam. Start simple. Big body slam. Kenny Omega sells like hell. And immediately, Hangman Adam Page goes to the outside of the ring. You know what he's heading for. Omega gets up. Buckshot lariat. That's your lot. Get the artist buried where he belongs. Adam Page beats a jobber. That's the story.
Thank you. Just thank you.
You're welcome. You are all welcome. Then we get a promo from Adam Page. JR gets into the ring. and he says, well, Mr. Page, you are, as a 27 years old man, you are here in Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling. A very impressive victory to start out, taking out a man like Kenny Omega, who's formidable in his own right. So tell us right now a little bit about what being an ACPW means to you. And he goes, there's only one thing that anybody wants to do when they enter the pro wrestling business, JR, and that's make money and be at the very best that they can be and win the top prize. And that's what I'm here for. I came to Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling because I know that everyone here is a top-notch talent, and I know that I am capable of being just as much. And I'm here because I told my mother that I had to do this. I told my mother when I was back and she was putting food on the table for me and my 3 siblings with barely anyone there. I told her I needed to make something happen. And I grew up in a very poor part of town. And that part of town was in a rural part of the country, but we learned values there. And that value was learning how to do what they call cowboy shit. And that's what I'm here to do, JR, is cowboy shit. So anyone who wants to step up against me, I will gladly accept that challenge because I am here to prove myself, to be the best, and to wear that ACPW gold around my waist. You understand me, JR?
I understand, yeah.
So Hangman Adam Page gets a good promo win. Babyface win establishes Adam Page as somebody to pay attention to.
And most importantly, kicks Kenny Omega's ass like he should.
Yes, I knew that you would be happy with the result, even though you would hate the fact that I chose that match.
You got it out of the way. That's the most important thing, is that you got it out of the way.
I knew you could. I knew you would love the finish. So, well, we got still a lot to go. So there's Hangman Adam Page. We go back and we go now to a pre-tape of Trevor Mann. And Trevor Mann is it's a sit-down with Tony Schiavone, who we have not seen, who's been in the back doing backstage interviews, but we haven't gotten to him. But we have now, here we have Trevor Mann with Tony, and Tony says, well, Trevor, first of all, how is your arm? How is your arm? And he says, well, it's actually, it's been a while now, so my arm is actually better. I should be back in wrestling action in the next couple of weeks. And Tony goes, oh, that's great, but I have to ask you, obviously Pentagon Jr. did this to you at Zelina Vega's behest, and he says, I'm going to stop you right there, Tony, because I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, did you hear the news? Pentagon Jr. left because he's a coward. What a surprise. He breaks a man's arm and then hightails it. What a man that shows. But I've proven more than once that I'm a man, and it's not just my last name. You get it, Tony? And I've now got a fully functioning arm again. And there is somebody that I can come after, and that's the person who called for that attack. So Zelina Vega, I know you're still around. And I don't know how, and I don't know when, but I'm going to get you. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you pay for putting me on the shelf and taking money off my family's table and out of my family's bank account, because we rely on that, and you tried to take that away from us. And I promise you that when the going gets tough, it'll be I who mans up. That was terrible. I wanted to make that sound way better, and it sounded terrible.
You should have just said when the going gets tough,
I man up.
Going.
I man up. When the going gets tough, Trevor Mann mans up. That's what I meant to say. That's better.
There we go.
That's the one. That's the one. Got it. Okay. So what you heard was creative troubleshooting in the process. So that's that.
But that's a good promo. Perfectly explains why Pentagon is no longer in the company and sets Trevor Mann's sight on Zelina Vega.
Yes. Now, speaking of Zelina Vega, because of course we see that pre-tape, And now we cut back to JR, who is now in the ring and says, ladies and gentlemen, it is now, please welcome here to get ready for his upcoming match in just a couple of minutes. It is our newest talent, Andrade Cien Almas. And Andrade Cien Almas comes out, and of course, Zelina Vega is with him. And Zelina comes in, and of course, Zelina doing all her posing and yada yada. And Andrade comes in, and JR says, well, Andrade, it's great to welcome you in here. Of course, we've heard a lot about you. Why don't you tell us, kind of in the same way that he was doing it to Adam Page. Why don't you tell us a little bit? And of course, Zelina butts in and goes, no, he's not answering any questions from you, JR. I've seen your journalism, quote unquote journalism, okay? You're not going to try and pin my guy and make him seem like he's evil and he's twisted and he's some sort of jerk. The fact is, he's more handsome than you, JR, and I see the jealousy in your eyes, okay? I see the jealousy in all of these people's eyes because of what Andrade Cien Almas is. The greatest luchador ever to come out of Mexico. The greatest professional wrestler ever witnessed in ACPW, and soon to be the ACPW World Champion. And as for Trevor Mann, he thinks he can man up and take on Andrade Cien Almas. He couldn't even stop Pentagon. And I didn't even like Pentagon. I like Andrade Cien Almas. And he's willing to do more than Pentagon ever would. But why don't you watch and find out? And so now we have a match. It is
everybody's shitting on Pentagon.
It wasn't until I loved him until he joined AEW.
That's what happens with a lot of people.
Yeah, I loved him until he joined AEW. Well, anyway, we then have a match: Andrade Cien Almas versus Man Scout Jake Manning. Get in there.
Man Scout's gonna die.
Get in there. Get in there. I love this dude. I'm actually wearing my Man Scout shirt as we speak.
Man Scout's gonna die.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can imagine how this goes. It actually goes longer than you'd think. It goes about 6 minutes.
He tries.
Well, the way that it's like, there are some people in like Mid-South. There's this guy Mike Jackson who was just a jobber like that, who would job for only like 4 to 5 minutes, but he was so good at jobbing in 4 to 5 minutes. And I feel like Man Scout would very much accomplish the same feat. You know he's going to get his ass whipped, but he'd still make you look good doing it.
And that's what jobbers are, and that's what jobbers need to be.
That's right. So Man Scout obviously does not pick up the win. Andrade wins with that cradle like DDT thing he used to do.
Isn't that... Oh, okay. It's the cradle version of the hammerlock.
Yeah, the hammerlock. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. The hammerlock.
All right, so, hammerlock DDT.
Yes, that's the one. I couldn't remember the name of it. For whatever reason, I couldn't remember the name of it, but yes.
By the way, we should mention, by the way, that he is a former National Wrestling League International Champion.
That's right.
So Zelina has picked up a championship pedigreed wrestler in our universe.
Yeah. What did Pentagon do lately?
Exactly.
He lost his first match. Seriously, he lost his first match to Heath Slater, now on ACPW jobbing out, or on NWL jobbing out.
Mm-hmm.
And then through a hissy fit, lost again to Trevor Mann, through a hissy fit, broke Man Scout's arm, broke Trevor Mann's arm, and then lost again to Heath Slater. Or no, I'm sorry, Pentagon beat Heath Slater and broke his arm. And then we're like, nah, okay, we're done with you.
Yeah, you're only wrestling jobbers. You're not special.
Yeah. Well, and part of it was, and I mentioned this to you before, Sky, it's like there's only so far you can go with an arm-breaking gimmick. it's really limiting as far as what you like, the direction you can go, and that's really all I had as far as personality for him. You were
almost retiring. You were almost reliant on Zelina Vega to do the personality stuff, which is fine.
Yeah, but it's just
you still can't do much for the guy whose only character is I break arms.
Yeah, and I think that there's a little more diversity in Andrade's moveset that would make it just a little bit better in that respect. Mm-hmm. Well, now we go back to Tony Schiavone, who is with Adam Cole, with Britt Baker, and Roderick Strong. And Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, Tony goes, well, Cole, you guys had a pretty impressive victory last week, taking down your former best friends in Fish and O'Reilly. And how have things been? First of all, Britt, it's great to see you back. Obviously, you and I are great friends, me being Tony Schiavone and you being Britt Baker. And
yes, thank you for the clarification, Tony Schiavone.
Yes, thank you. It is Memorial Day weekend after all. so we love you, Tony. We jab and jest. It's all good fun. Anyway,
it's just that you're a nerd.
Oh, we love it. I love Tony. I love Tony. I not have a bad word to say about him. But anyway, so here we are. Me, Tony Schiavone, and you, Dr. Britt Baker, and how are you feeling? And she goes, well, I'm actually feeling a lot better. My neck obviously got hurt pretty badly. Of course, the chair shot, the concussion. Thankfully, I had my lovely husband by my side who was fighting for my honor. And, of course, Roddy, I can't be more appreciative of these two really taking care of me. And as soon as I'm in working shape, I plan on smacking those two another one if I get the chance. And, of course, laughter, ha, 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 ha. And Tony's like, oh, well, here's the interesting thing now, because now we got to shift gears. Of course, it's great to see you back, Britt, but Adam and Roddy, you two have a match tonight, a main event match against the ACPW Tag Team Champions. And this is only your second time tagging together as just a pair, as a tag team. How does, at least in ACPW, how does this feel for you with this kind of monumental opportunity? Well, and this is Adam speaking. Well, we've done a lot of things in our career, good and bad. We've said that from the start. And the whole point of us coming here to ACPW, Tony, was to turn a new leaf. And in turning that new leaf, we wanted one thing. And I wanted one thing. And Britt wanted one thing, and that was championships. That was making it to the top of this business and knowing that you're the best and that you did it the right way. And Roddy is an honorable man. He always has been. He's been my brother for many, many years. And we both are excited and determined to make this opportunity count. But make no mistake about it, I've got a jovial tone, but I can switch it up in an instant. Because FTR, you got to understand, I didn't think it was going to be you. But now that it is, you would wish it hadn't been. Because I've got my eyes and my sights set, and me and Roddy, we know what it takes. We've seen your tricks. We've been around to watch them. We felt them a couple of times in the past, but not today. Today, it is our time to shine. It is our time to prove that we will be the ACPW Tag Team Champions before it's all said and done. Isn't that right, Roddy? You know it. All right, that's all you had to say. I don't know how to do a Roddy promo. I don't know. Roddy doesn't really do good promos. I'm sorry.
Roddy doesn't need to do promos. He lets his work do the talking.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Adam Cole, that was good enough with Adam Cole. Cole.
Exactly.
But I want to make one thing clear, baby. I love you. You know I love you. But I don't think we're ready to have you out there yet. Especially with that no-good, dastardly piece of garbage, scum of the earth, rat-tailed Jim Cornette out there. And with FTR, we've known what they're capable of. I really don't want to put you in that position. So please, because I love you, do me a favor, just head back to the hotel. Okay? We'll be all right. Roddy and I will take care of business, and then we'll be back to celebrate. Okay? It's going to be real quick, but I don't want you hurt. I know you're capable. I know you're better. but I don't want you hurt. And Britt's, reluctant at first, but she's like, okay. All right, Roddy, let's go prepare. So then they prepare, like, okay, now we're heading back to Taz and Match Striker. So a promo for the two, pretty much solidifying that they will be a tag team going forward.
All right, and that's good. You have to do the establishment, and we have a solid tag team division match main event later tonight.
Yes, that is going to be something to see, for sure. Well, next up, we have another match. Speaking of tag team matches, and you want to talk about moving parts, we have the Hardys, who, if you recall, the last time we saw the Hardys was in a matchup against FTR for the tag belts, and they got screwed once again by FTR, the way they did in the first time that they fought FTR, in a different way, a differently creative way, but in still getting screwed over again by Jim Cornette and FTR. They are facing the tag team of Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins.
Oh, no.
And wouldn't you know who won the pony? Well, I'm sure you can guess what happens here. This match, I will say, goes 8 minutes, 8 or 9. You know what? We're actually a little bit later in the show. I'll give it 10. I'll give it 10 with a 15 time limit, but it only goes 10.
But we know who's winning.
Obviously, this is Matt gets the heat. Jeff makes the comeback. Twist of fate. Swanton bomb. 1, 2, 3. That's your line. I don't think I really needed to go much further detail than that.
No, you don't have to. We have a long show. We need to get going.
This is there's a lot involved, even though it's not a ton of matches. So then we get to JR, and JR is now in the ring with the Hardys, and the Hardys cut a promo, and this is basically how it goes. Listen, FTR, we know what you've been up to. We've seen it every time. There's nobody who's seen what you've done more than we have. We felt it. We experienced it. Hell, we've bled for it. Have the two of us. But we're tired of your games. Because those belts are rightfully ours, and you know they're rightfully ours because you haven't won them fairly yet. And so I've got authority, and I've got this here sheet of paper. And you know what this says, Jeff? Well, God, that looks to me like a contract, Matt. And that says, well, it is something of a contract, and this contract is signed in an authorized match booking from Arn Anderson himself that gives us another tag team championship title shot. Wouldn't you know that? Well, how did we get that? But this is how we got it. Because Arn Anderson has seen just how much you've cost people, cost livelihoods, and cost what people have rightfully earned because you can't admit to yourselves that you aren't good enough to have it in the first place. And you need Jim Cornette to bail you out all your time. But this time, it's going to be a little bit different, FTR. Because on this contract signed, there is no Jim Cornette this time. Not because he's banned, but because we're settling it like men. Taped fists, bring your hardest cowboy boots, because we're throwing down. No one gets in, no one gets out. 3 weeks from now, at the May pay-per-view that is yet to be named, it is you, FTR, against us, the Hardys. Steel cage. That's how it's going down. And we won't forget. And you think that these two we can handle easily? This was fun. When we're with you, we'll be mad.
Solid promo. Solid work from the Hardys, who have a reason to be pissed.
Absolutely.
But the question is, can they get retribution for the injustice that the Cornette members, the cult of Cornette, did to the Hardy Boys?
Well, not once, but twice, if you recall. And this is going to be, and of course, the big blow-off, steel cage. There's a reason for it because Jim Cornette has been the factor both times, so it's okay. Now we got to have a match where no one can get in, no one can get out. So Jim Cornette cannot get in. And guess what? Note about my steel cage matches, there is no escape the cage. That doesn't happen. It's a fight. It's pinfall submission. No leaving the cage. That's not how it's going down.
Now, does the cage have a top that closes over it so that no one can climb to the top?
No.
But you're not gonna. You're gonna lock the door.
Yes, the door will be locked.
Okay, good.
The door will be locked, but there will probably not be a roof on the cage.
Okay.
But it is supposed to be. But or maybe there will be. I might change my mind come that time. It's a long ways away. 3 weeks away is a long ways away. But
well, 3 weeks or 3 months, depending on your point of view.
That's right. And it's for what it's worth. I will also spoil this here as a teaser. On that May pay-per-view that is yet to be named, that will be the main event. Because I promised that tag team wrestling can and will draw at the same rate that the World Heavyweight Championship can and will. And I firmly believe that this program has got enough heat and enough traction to where this deserves to close the show.
If you can build it up good enough, that's definitely true. Especially because if you look at it, these are two of the top tag teams in your promotion. Yeah.
Yeah, and have been established from the start. They were the first main event in ACPW history. And that's going to be, and it's, so stay tuned for that. So there's definitely more to come there. And now we get another pre-tape. This is another interview with good old Tony Schiavone. And he is in the back this time with Brian Cage, the former world's champion.
A man with a wounded pride.
And obviously this was a pre-tape, and it was a sit down, and Tony goes, well, Brian, this has been a crazy few days in the wild world of professional wrestling here in ACPW, and Brian, I can only imagine how you feel right now. Obviously that championship, you being the first world champion, not having that belt around your waist now because of Jeff Cobb. You know, it's not even Jeff Cobb, right? Jeff Cobb, he's a hell of an athlete. I stood toe-to-toe. I'm pretty much the only guy who's ever stood toe-to-toe with Jeff Cobb. He's a tour de force. But when the going got tough, and I was the one who was actually going to beat Jeff Cobb, that writing was on the wall. And then Jim Cornette gets involved. And then FTR gets involved. And I throw all of them to the side as I steamroll my way to winning and retaining against Jeff Cobb. And then who shows up but a snake? A slithery snake who knows just the right moves to make to screw over a man who did nothing to him. And let me tell you something, I still have and still can compete for that world title. That's my right as a former champion. I can definitely challenge, and I'm coming right back for that championship. You bet your ass I am. But Randy, you better bet your ass that I'm coming for you too. Because you made the ultimate mistake. The ultimate reveal of a rattlesnake is ultimately and ironically his rattle. Because once you expose yourself, I know your tricks. And I'm going to come for you, and I will flatten you so hard that somebody's going to mistake you for a belt, you pathetic snake. And that is a fact. Brian Cage is a machine, and he will regain his title.
And you can see it especially in the eyes of Brian Cage. This is one guy who screams intensity.
Yeah. And
when he sets his mind on something, he's going to do it.
Now, and you also have to understand, and in some of these, you know, I'm doing these in pretty passive a tone. You know, I'm doing these kind of in my cadence. But you also got to remember, some of these people will be screaming these promos like the 80s, where they're going to be like high intensity. I want high intensity promos in this. It's not all going to be, Kenny Omega, look at my art. You know, that was a dove flying away for those of you who didn't catch that. But And so that's part of it is how they deliver it as well. I'm just giving the words, but they'd be the ones who do this. But now comes my favorite segment of the night. Are you ready, Sky?
I am.
Out comes Cody Rhodes for a promo with JR.
Oh, no.
Now, Cody Rhodes, if you recall, turned heel on good old Maxwell Jacob Friedman back on Winter Warcraft. And now we have got the first super arrogant, like ear-to-ear grin, toothy smile in the suit. And JR goes, well, Cody, you look great, but I gotta say, after what happened with you and MJF, I gotta say, I'm not really approving of your behavior here. I mean, you were pretty ruthless after the fact. And Cody goes, listen, JR, I'm in a new world right now. This world has seen a revolution, a revelation, perhaps, a revealing, if you can understand what that means, JR. Maybe you should, wipe those glasses a little bit so you can see the world for what it is. And it's that I, Cody Rhodes, the royalty of pro wrestling. And I don't need a crown to wear it. I don't need to win a tournament to wear it. I've got the name. I've got the name, the Rhodes. And to have a moocher like MJF disrespect me and everything I've given him, that I could not let go by the wayside. So I took it upon myself to destroy MJF and beat a lesson into an ingrate like him. And now everyone can see just how great I've been from the start. I've got the name, I've got the legacy, and moreover, I've got the smile. And I've got the love of these people here in this audience. Because each and every one of you...
Boo!
Each and every one of you recognizes, whether you like it or not, whether you cheer or boo, that I am the chosen wrestler. I have always been not just the son of a plumber, because no longer do we have that name. We are the best of the best, and I am sick of people all around me trying to mooch off me. There's some...
You suck, you suck, you suck.
There's some pregnant bitch. I dumped her ass. I didn't need her. She wanted to take the Rhodes name. She wanted to be a Rhodes. Honey, nobody gets to be a Rhodes unless you were born into being a Rhodes. And that's the bottom line. I found me instead a beautiful woman who knows how to treat a man right. I found somebody so much better than that piece of junk, Brandy. I don't even remember why I remembered her name. Because I found myself a real woman. Come on out, sugar baby.
Don't do it, man.
Out comes Katie Forbes, baby.
You suck so much.
That's right. I knew you would hate this so much. I knew. And Katie Forbes has got very little clothing on, and she's just shaking-a-daking all the way down the ring.
Oh, God. This is the absolute worst.
And she's coming out, and then it's just sloppy kissing. It's just, and JR still got the mic and is like, oh, well, hello, young lady. You get, oh, okay, oh, all right.
Okay, I'm out of here. I'm just
okay, guys, I need you to leave the ring. I mean, this is, so Cody, I mean, I don't know what's going on with your behavior here, but this is getting out of hand. I don't know what to make of this. Matt Striker, Taz, let's get back to you. And the last image is them just sloppy kissing in the middle of the ring as we go back to Matt and Taz, who are just like, they're just staring at the camera like, what is happening to Cody Rhodes? What is going on with Cody Rhodes?
What's happening is the sloppy kissing.
Oh God, it's just so. Yeah. So that's Cody Rhodes, and now
why did you do this?
Specifically for this reaction.
Well, it got the reaction you wanted. Are you happy with yourself?
Yes, I am 100%.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am so proud of myself. You don't understand. This was a second you gave me Katie Forbes. It took me like a day, but then I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, because that is a heat magnet. I mean, people are gonna pop when he says he ditched Brandy, but people are gonna boo when out. But people are gonna boo when out comes Katie Forbes. I mean, it's gonna be it's great, and it shows that Cody.
You have paired Cody Rhodes with the one woman that makes us want to see Brandy.
Well, I gotta make sure Cody gets heat, and what better way to get Cody heat than putting him with someone who's literally just there to shake her ass.
By the way, does this mean that Katie Forbes is no longer dating RVD?
Correct.
Unless it's a thing.
Well,
where
kayfabe-wise, on screen, for all I know, Katie Forbes and RVD could still be fucking backstage, but that's not for me to decide. I'm out here just booking a show. I'm here for professionalism. What's happening on screen is that Cody and Katie Forbes are sloppy kissing. But we're almost done, sir. We're almost done. We got one more match, and then we can all go home and go to bed.
Get the fucking mind out of the gutter.
That's right. And Cody R is already there on his way with good old Katie Forbes. Anyway, here comes FTR versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. It is our main event. Now, this match, of course, is a 30-minute time limit match. And this is going to go a good chunk of the way, because a lot of the matches we've had so far have been short, save for the starting match, but they really haven't been anything huge. So this is going to obviously be the big match. The first 3/4 of this match is going to go pretty much the way you'd expect a terrific FTR and Adam Cole and Roderick Strong match to go. Nothing really to report, just imagine it being great. Here's the finish. Now, as this is happening, Adam Cole makes the comeback, right? So he gets fed and he's doing this, and now everybody's kind of in the ring. And now the legal men are Wheeler and Adam Cole. So Hardwood is hitting Roddy Strong, and they're in one corner. And the referee, as they're both the illegal men, is trying to get both illegal men out of the ring, right? So he's occupied with the two illegal men. Wheeler is on his knees in the middle of the ring, so Cole is obviously going to look for his last shot. So Cole is about to hit the last shot. He gets toward the ropes, and Jim Cornette pulls on Cole's hair. And Cole gets stutter-stepped for a second, and the second Cole turns around, Jim Cornette's got powder and hits it right into his eyes. And as Adam Cole, his eyes are messed up, you know, he's in the eyes. The referee's finally got the guys out of the ring. FTR goes for the Goodnight Express. The cover 1, 2, and Roddy just barely breaks it up. And after he breaks it up, they're starting to fight a little bit more. And it's time. It's a draw.
That's a little shocking to me that you would have these four men go to a draw.
Yeah. It's this
Also, it's a little bit of FTR surviving Roddy and Adam Cole.
Well, yes and no, because it was, in a way, really, if Roddy had not broken that up, FTR would have had that match won. So it's not like they were on the ropes. Like, it's not like FTR were about to be beaten and then the time went out. FTR were about to beat Cole and Roddy, but Roddy was there just in time. So there really wasn't it was kind of a stalemate. where nobody got hurt in this. Nobody looked bad in this. That was the whole point. It was more FTR doesn't need the elevation, but Cole and Roddy do. So the point of this was to get Cole and Roddy at least closer to FTR's level for pushing them up the card, and the symbolic stance of, okay, these two fought against the champions and got close. Not perfect, but close. So it puts another tag team at least in the dynamic here, while we have this tag championship cage match also looming on the horizon.
It definitely does a thing where multiple storylines are applied at the same time. Kind of the same thing going on with my company.
Because, wouldn't you know it? Who would have thought that interweaving a show into making several moving parts actually makes a show more compelling?
Well, because it adds that mystery of, okay, it's not just one thing happening with these guys, it's multiple things. Because then if you are just wrestling the same people week in and week out, it gets boring after a while.
For sure.
It gets stale.
Yeah. And it does. And that's why I waited and have paced this Hardys and FTR thing out so long. Because I did not want to hotshot this feud and have this done before, we could even say Bob's your uncle, Betty's your aunt. So but this is not over. The show's almost done, but the show's not over. So it's time, right? It's time. And obviously FTR is a little pissed, but they're honestly just thankful. You know what? We got the belts. It's a draw. Let's just get the hell out of here. So Cornette leaves, FTR leave, and Cole and Strong are in the ring, right? And they roll out kind of to where, in WWE's format, to where like the timekeeper's table is, to where if you can imagine like WWE's arena, kind of that style. So to where the timekeepers are, and they're like, it's all right. Hey, we got close. We're feeling good about that. And they're walking kind of close to the barricade. Well, all of a sudden, there's a hooded figure in a hoodie like 4 times bigger than it needs to be, who has a replica belt and hits Roddy over the skull with it. A fan. And Adam Cole stares in shock like immediately, and before Cole's like, what the hell just happened? Roddy's down, and right as you see the camera flips up, he flips over the hood, and it's Bobby Fish. And the second that Bobby Fish opens the hoodie, O'Reilly from behind hits Adam Cole. It's an ambush. And these two take chairs and just beat the absolute piss out of them, beating them both, busting them both open with chairs in the ring. Baby faces now and security are trying to come in because they weren't scheduled to be here tonight. They shouldn't be here. They're not allowed in the building because they're not booked. So they're beating off referees, and they're beating off some baby faces, like Man Scout and people like that, who is like, obviously they're going to jump up and just get hit. And Cole and Roddy and coming out like that and beaten down, and then finally cops are able to break it up, right? Finally the cops come in, but they only come in right before they're about to use both chairs and pretty much just sandwich Adam Cole's head in it, like by just slamming both chairs against each other. And right before they do that, the cops come in and they finally break it up and get those guys out of the ring. And as they're escorting them out, Britt Baker just runs down, and you could see her like crying, and her knees are like she's holding Adam Cole basically like in her arms as she's crying, like as these guys are being escorted out. And the last thing you see as the crowd fades to black is Fish and O'Reilly looking back from the police with the most twisted smiles you could possibly imagine, and that's how the show ends.
That's a great way to end the show. Definitely makes things interesting, but it is clear that wrestling's finest have got a long way to go. This is not over between those 4.
Well, and I forgot to mention one little thing in this, right? After the initial ambush, right? The initial shot, O'Reilly, after he takes the shot, they start beating people, they start beating him down a bit, and, he's getting into the chairs, and he takes the mic real quick and says only this, and then drops the mic, and he goes, "You may be done with us, but we're not done with you." And throws the mic down, and then they just beat the absolutely living piss out of him. So that is how ACPW ends for Season 2, Episode 1. There was a lot in it, but also a lot out of it.
Because it's television. You can't feature everyone that is on your show, because then, again, you lead to possible overexposure.
Yes, and we don't want to have that.
Right. And it helps to cycle talent, because if you don't cycle talent, it's not going to feel fresh. Like, you can have guys be featured, but you can't feature them all the time, because then it's like, I've seen this guy, I want to see someone new, or I want to see someone different.
Yes, exactly. And you know what I just realized? I have another match. That was like in the middle of this, and I totally forgot to put it on the format. And I don't know whether I want.
It's okay. We can leave it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what I'll do is I will put this into next week's show, because it's fine with them not being on this show. I can pop this into next week just fine and not have any problem with it.
Exactly. Like, I was even thinking about doing another promo and another match, but then I'm like, I'm at 10 matches already. I already have 3 or 4 promos. That's good enough.
Yeah, and it's but I will tease it. I will tease it for all of you. It is the Briscoes versus DIY.
Ooh, that is a great match, and that's a great way to hype up the next time we do this.
Yes. So what's been teased so far with the next time we do this is MJF's going to be in action. Dustin Rhodes is going to be there. We've got another tag match in Outlaw Inc. versus Orange Guava. Shorty G is going to be there. Jeff Cobb's going to be in action. Titus O'Neil's going to be there. And, of course, the Briscoes and DIY now added to that. A lot to look forward to coming into ACPW next time.
And do you want me to give you a special spoiler for NWL?
I would love to hear a little teaser.
Next month's main event for the March pay-per-view will be a triple threat match. Kevin Owens versus Jon Moxley versus AJ Styles.
Seems only logical. And that is going to be a very interesting match, because it can go a lot of different directions. And I think any one of those 3 could walk away with that with the belt.
Exactly, because these 3 men, they don't like each other, and there's a lot of combustible parts in that match, and we shall see what happens.
That's right, my man. And now we have come to that part in the show. Well done, sir, by the way. What a great Season 2 premiere. The both of us, both putting in some great work.
And it will only get better.
That's right. And right now, what time it is time to take our first commercial break. And next time we will see you will be the Elimination Chamber review. So cheers to that, I guess. So have fun watching Elimination Chamber, Sky. I'm sure you will.
And remember, folks, this is the last pay-per-view on the WWE Network. After this, it goes to Peacock.
That's right.
So Elimination Chamber is going to have a special place in history. Whether it's infamous or not remains to be seen.
Well, it remains to be seen, but we can take a fair guess. But you'll have to wait and see. I am, of course, your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty. That is the Bay Area Brawler, Skylar Greenberg. And we will see you right after this short commercial break.